Welcome students. So today's lecture is on flame photometry. Okay. So today we are going to see flame photometry. Okay. So why we want to study flame photometry? So there is a reason for studying flame photometry. One of the reason is that we have some solution. Okay. So this is your serum sample. This is your serum sample or the serum sample of the animal, and now this serum sample contains some ions, right? It may contain some potassium, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and you want to estimate these ions, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, these things you want to estimate. So in order to estimate that, you can use the flame photometry, right? The flame photometry is the equipment which uses the spectrophotometric techniques. Okay, so what we are using in this technique is that, so this sample we are treating this sample with the flame photometry. So there is a flame. So whenever we say flame photometry, obviously there should be a flame. Okay, so there is a flame like this. So this is our flame, and what we want to do, this was our sample. We want to inject our sample into this flame. So once this sample is injected into this flame, we want to see what color of the flame is. Okay, so what is the color of the flame? And that color of the flame, if it is yellow, for example, if it is yellow color flame, we say it is a sodium. Sodium is present in our sample. If it is a orange color flame, we say orange color flame, we say it is a calcium. Okay, so as we know in the qualitative estimations in the biochemistry, if it is a one color, we say sodium. So yellow color, sodium; orange color, calcium. So that is a qualitative estimation. Okay, so this is a based on how color look like. Okay, in addition, in this flame photometry we can see the intensity. So if you are seeing the intensity, so how much is the peak of intensity, based on that you can estimate actual quantity of sodium. So this analysis based on intensity, it will be the quantitative estimation. This is a quantitative estimation. Okay, so based on intensity, quantitative, and based on color, it is a qualitative. So this is a qualitative estimation based on color, and based on color intensity, it is a quantitative estimation, how much quantity of it present. Okay, so when we say some color is producing, when we say that when potassium is there or sodium is there, the particular color intensity, for example, yellow color is produced by sodium. So why this yellow color is produced? That is the background principle of our flame photometry. Okay, so what happens is that in the background of the flame photometry is that we want to see now background of our flame photometry. Okay, so why this color is being produced? So we were seeing that this flame is being produced with injection of our sample. So what is actually happening in this flame with the sample? So what things are happening with our sample? So we have our ground state. So this is our ground state and this is our excited state. So these electrons or atoms, they excite to the higher orbit. Okay, so we have, so this is for example sodium, and if it is an electron, just exemplary, if it is an electron, this is a ground state. Okay, so this state, the below line, it is a ground state. So this is a ground state or ground electronic orbital. Okay, so this is a ground orbital. And what happens is that once it is treated with a flame, these ground electrons, this ENA, this electron which was present here, it shift to this excited state. Okay, it moves away from its actual orbit and it's shift to the excited state. So this is an excited state orbit. So this is we call it the excited. Okay, so electron shifts from the ground state to the excited state. Oh, so what happened? So now this was a excitation state. Okay, so this was a excitation. So but what happens is that the electrons don't like to be in the excited state for very long. It will again come into the ground state. Okay, so this is the de-excitation. And during this excitation, this light in a form of photon is emitted. Okay, so this is a light in a form of the photon, and this light we are detecting in our flame photometer. Okay, so when we were seeing that in the flame photometer we can measure the yellow color, so this color is produced. So if it is if the sodium is there, then this yellow light will produce, and intensity of the light will be proportional to the amount of the sodium present in our sample. If it is a calcium, then this light will be the orange in color, and then that is a qualitative, and based on intensity we can estimate how much calcium is there present in this one, right? So that was about the how this electronic configuration helps in the measuring this light, right? So basically this is a emitted photon which helps in the determining the how much elements is there present in this one. So next comes whether all intensity, all light will be of the same wavelength. So we are familiar with electromagnetic spectrum, right? Whenever it is visible light, so it is the spectrum is like this. So spectrum is like this means there is a distance between particular crest. So this is a wavelength. So based on if it is a yellow light, the distance will be different. If it is orange light, the distance will be different. Okay. So based on this one, we have different lights, and based on for different lights, for example, it is a sodium Na, wavelength we have to use is a 589 nanometer, and it is a yellow light. Okay, so for sodium it is a yellow, and the wavelength you have to use is a emission wavelength. Emission wavelength is a this one. Okay, if it is a potassium, it is a 766 nanometer, and what will be the color of this potassium? It will be the violet. Then if it is a barium we denote by Ba. It is 554 nanometer, and this color will be the lime green. So let's say it is a calcium. Calcium already we say orange. Orange color is produced if it is a calcium, and the wavelength is a 662 nanometer. Okay, so if it is a lithium, it is a 670 nanometer, and what will be the color produced? Color will be the red. So the flame which is producing the color, it will be either yellow, violet, lime, orange or red based on this one, and these are the elements we can detect, and these are the emission wavelength you have to note. These are the colors. Okay, so these are the type of spectra we can get with the different element. So this is our flame photometry. So next Next we want to study the structure of our flame. So whenever we say flame, there should be a burner. So this is our burner. So there should be a flame. So this is our flame. So basically, flame, if you see if you see a gas burner flame or anything, it will be the different region. So this is a primary reaction zone. Then this will be the preheating zone. Then there will be the interconal region. This will be the secondary reaction zone. And here is a mixing chamber. Okay, so this is our flame. Okay, so what is happening is that, so in this preheating zone, this gas or anything which is present, gas, fuel plus oxidant plus our sample, this got mixed in this region, get nebulized and comes here, and it will be evaporating. This solvent will be evaporating, and now in the preheating zone we have flame producing. So primary reaction zone will be here, and interconal region will be here. So at the tip of this interconal region here, the temperature will be highest, and actually this is the region which we use for the flame photometry. At the secondary reaction zone, the atom which are present, it will get evaporated and it will get stabilized atoms with the reaction with the surrounding air. So this is basically a structure of the flame, how flame look like. So everybody is familiar with the flame, but you should know there is a mixing chamber, preheating zone is here, primary reaction zone is there, interconal region is there, secondary reaction zone is here. So these are the regions of the flame, and in the mixing chamber basically we have fuel, oxidant and sample in the nebulized form. So we will come again to this diagram. So basically whenever we are seeing the flame, so whenever you are estimating, can there be any interferences? It is not inference, it is interference. Can anything hamper this one? So there can be a spectral interference. Okay, spectral interference means two elements, if they are arising and if they are they have overlapping spectra, then one spectra can interfere with the other spectra. So this wavelength is there and the other is there, so there can be some spectral interference and we don't get expected color or expected light intensity. Likewise, there can be a ionic interference. Ionic interference means if sodium is there and sodium plus is there, the spectra of sodium will be different and sodium plus will be different. So because of this one, both will give different spectra. If presence of one sodium plus ion in the presence of sodium, it will interfere our spectral reaction. This may happen if we are heating sodium to very high temperature, then this sodium may get ionized and it will produce the sodium plus ion. Likewise, there can be a chemical interference. Chemical can be cation, ionic, cationic, anionic, or cationic, So presence of one cation and one anion, they may interfere with each other. For example, if calcium, we are estimating calcium, and there is a potassium present. So this calcium, potassium, they may interact with each other. It may form very stable complex, and this won't dissociate. We won't get actual reading for this calcium. So these two molecules, this is negative, this is positive. This may interact with each other, cation, anion, and they will form the stable complex. Any particular complex. For example, this is a Ca3PO4 2. So this molecule, this won't dissociate, so it won't contribute to our overall spectra. So this molecule, our reading of calcium will not be proper. We won't get actual calcium reading. Actual calcium reading will be the decrease than intended, because there is a complex formation Ca3PO4 2. So this can be calcium cation anion. Likewise, sometimes aluminium in the presence of calcium or magnesium, it may interfere. So both are positively charged, but positively charged ion can also interfere with each other. So that is a cation-cation interference can be present there. So that was about the interference. What type of interference can be present in our samples? So that is a cationic interference. So we are going to see little bit about our flame. So how our flame produce? So this is our flame. So this is producing here. So this flame is producing here. So in order to produce flame, what we need? In order to produce flame, we will need a mixing chamber. So mixing chamber is here. We have to inject our fuel here. We have to inject our oxidant here. Then we have to inject our sample from here. Okay, this goes to our sample chamber. So this is our sample. So sample will come here, fuel will come from here to here, oxidant will come, all three that will form. There is a nebulization. Nebulization happens here, and this goes to the flame, and this our flame is produced here. Okay, so that is our flame, and remaining thing can come as a drain here. Okay, so what happened in the flame? Once light is produced, we can have, this is our mirror. So this is our lens. Okay, so we can pass our light through a lens. So what it will happen? It will pass it through the filter. So this is again our filter. So all light is being concentrated at one point. Okay, and now in the filter, for example, filter we can use as a monochromator or the prism to select particular wavelength, and so particular wavelength of light will pass through that filter. So now it will be passed on to the photo detector. Okay, so this is a photo detector, cathode anode is there. So this photo detector will read the intensity of the light, and it will pass to this readout device. So this is our readout device and amplifier. So this will basically amplify our light, and this. So basically, whenever you are doing the sample delivery, you should do the nebulization, then aerosol modifier. The large part nebulization means you have to make it into the mist form. So it will go here, everything will mix. Then you have to do the aerosol modification. Then you have to do the flame or atomizer. Everything you have to burn inside the flame. So that is why we will need a burner. Burner can be different type, premix, mixed burner. It can be total consumption burner. So these are just different types of burner. And for detectors, these detectors, it can be also a photomultiplier tube, photoemissive tube, or photovoltaic cell. So these can be a different type of the detectors present in our sample. So that was about, in short, about flame photometry, how it works. So what is application of flame photometry? So next comes application. So name itself denotes application. So you can detect sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium in a serum, urine or cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, so these things you can do in these things. You can use you can detect lead in petrol. For this one, flame photometry can be used. It can be used for measuring the equilibrium constant involving ion exchange resin. It can be used in the determination of the calcium and magnesium in cement. So this is non-biological part, but still it can be used in the determination in the cement, and it can be used in the determination of alkaline and alkali metal. So basically we are interested in this part: sodium, potassium, calcium and magnesium determination from our serum sample. So that is in short about the flame photometry. Basically flame photometry can be used for determination of this quantity. So in this lecture we have studied what is flame photometry, what is ground state, how ground state electron become excited, it become excited state electrons, then it emits a particular photon light, and that photon light we can detect as a qualitatively whether it is yellow light, sodium, whether it is the orange light, calcium, and what is intensity of light, and based on that intensity we can determine the how much quantity of sodium or magnesium is there, or whatever elements you want to detect based on this one. And we know that particular element has a particular wavelength light, yellow light has a particular wavelength spectra, and that wavelength we have to select with the monochromator, so that photo detector can detect it, amplifier will read it, and on amplifier we will get in the readout device we will get reading of how much of the absorption spectra is produced. So that was about in short about the flame photometer. Thank you.